Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are going to be tackling something pretty wild. Um, we're looking at a concept called the three-day belief system. And it's making some really bold claims.
Yeah, I saw that. 3 days, huh? Pretty intriguing stuff.
Right, like can you really manifest your desires in just 72 hours? We're going to find out. So we're diving into this YouTube video by a guy named Joe Dispenza. He says he's got this background in neuroscience and quantum physics, and he claims he's seen some pretty amazing transformations using these methods.
Interesting. So what exactly does this system entail?
Okay, so the first thing Dispenza talks about is the power of visualization.
Yeah.
But it's not just like, making a vision board and looking at it every day.
Right.
He's talking about this supercharged visualization where you engage all five senses.
All five senses, huh?
Yeah, like if you want a new car, you're not just picturing it.
Yeah.
You're smelling that new car smell, feeling the leather seats, and, even hearing the engine purr.
So like really getting into the nitty-gritty of it. But is all that detail really necessary?
That's a good question. I mean, does the universe really need to know what kind of leather seats you want? But there is some science behind this, right?
Well, there is some evidence that visualization can actually affect brain activity. Like, studies using fMRI have shown that when people vividly imagine doing something, the areas of their brain associated with that action, they light up.
Interesting. So it's like a mental rehearsal.
Exactly. And your brain, it doesn't necessarily differentiate between a real experience and an imagined one. So in a way, you're kind of training your brain for that desired outcome.
Oh, I see. So it's like athletes who use visualization to improve their performance. Their brains are basically getting a pregame workout.
Exactly. It's like priming the pump, so to speak.
Interesting. But Dispenza, he doesn't stop there. He also talks about the importance of emotions.
Yeah, he calls emotions the rocket fuel for our thoughts.
Right. So it's not enough to just think about your goal. You have to feel the emotions associated with already having achieved it. The joy, the gratitude, the excitement.
So you're not just thinking it, you're feeling it.
Yeah, but that's where I start to get a little skeptical.
Yeah.
Doesn't that just sound like faking it till you make it? Like, is there any real benefit to trying to conjure up these emotions when you haven't actually achieved anything yet?
That's a valid concern. I mean, it's easy to fall into the trap of just putting on a happy face and pretending everything is great. But I think the key here is the distinction between genuine emotion and just kind of, forcing a feeling.
Okay.
Emotions play a powerful role in our choices and actions, that's for sure.
Right.
And if you can genuinely tap into those feelings of joy and gratitude, it can shift your perspective. And your behavior, too. It could even lead you to make choices that are more aligned with those goals that you have.
Okay, so instead of waiting to feel happy when you achieve your goal, you're kind of cultivating that happiness now to help you move towards it.
Right. It's like you're aligning your energy with your desired outcome.
I see. So it's less about faking it and more about shifting your energy, your mindset.
Yeah. And whether or not that's actually sending some signal to the universe, that's another discussion.
Right.
But even from a purely psychological standpoint, there's something to be said for the power of positive emotions.
Right. It makes sense. So we've got the vivid visualization, the genuine emotions. What else is there? What's the third piece of this three-day belief system puzzle?
Okay, so the third piece is what Dispenza calls living from the end. So it's not just visualizing the outcome, it's about embodying it. Thinking, feeling, and acting as if it's already your reality.
Okay, so like if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you start acting as if you already are one, making decisions, networking, and carrying yourself with that confidence.
Exactly. You're stepping into that role, even if you're not quite there yet.
But isn't that a little like, putting the cart before the horse?
Well, some might say so.
Right?
But there's actually a psychological principle at play here called acting as if, which suggests that how we behave can influence our thoughts and beliefs.
Really?
Yeah. It's like by acting in alignment with our goals, we're kind of tricking our brains into believing that we're already there.
So it's like that saying, dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Exactly. You're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy by embodying the qualities and behaviors of, that person you want to become.
Interesting. So it's not just about pretending. It's about making conscious choices that support your goals and, really acting in a way that aligns with your aspirations.
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with your vision.
Okay, I get it. So we've got the visualization, the emotion, the living from the end. Now, where does this 3-day thing come in?
Right, the big question. So Dispenza, he claims that it takes just 3 days for the brain to accept a new pattern as reality. Like if you can really immerse yourself in this process for 72 hours, the visualizing, the feeling, the acting as if, he says your brain will basically rewire itself.
Whoa, 3 days. That seems incredibly fast. Like, I know our brains are adaptable, but can they really undergo such a profound transformation that quickly?
That's where things get a little more complex. I mean, while there's a lot of buzz about neuroplasticity and how much the brain can change, it's not magic. You
Yeah.
know, it takes time and effort and repetition to really rewire those neural pathways.
Right. So is he maybe oversimplifying things a bit?
Yeah.
Is this 3-day time frame more of a metaphorical thing rather than a literal one?
It's possible. I mean, I don't think anyone's expecting a complete personality overhaul in 72 hours. But, you know, even if that's not totally realistic, there's something to be said for focused intention. Dedicating 3 days to intensely practicing these techniques, that could create some serious momentum. It's like jump-starting your personal growth.
So it's like a boot camp for your mind.
Exactly.
So you're basically going all in for these 72 hours. No distractions, no negativity, just focusing on your desired reality.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, is that even possible? Can people really eliminate all negativity for that long?
It's a tall order, that's for sure. Dispenza suggests cutting out all negativity. No complaining, worrying, doubting.
Wow. That's prodigious.
It is. For most people, that level of unwavering positivity, that's going to be a challenge.
It's like a mental detox, but for negativity. I'm curious, what do you think about that? Could you do it? Could you cut out all negativity for 3 days straight?
Me? I don't know. It's a good goal to strive for, though, right?
Yeah.
To be more mindful of our thoughts and try to focus on the positive, even if we can't eliminate the negative entirely.
Yeah, so it's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional, like shifting from a mindset of lack and limitation to a mindset of possibility and abundance.
Exactly. It's about focusing on what you want to create, not on what you're trying to avoid.
Right. So we've got the visualization, the emotion, the living from the end, and this idea of intense focus and positivity for 3 days. That's a lot to take in. But Dispenza takes it a step further and talks about the power of belief. And he makes a distinction between just thinking positive and deeply, truly believing.
Yeah, he says it's not enough to just hope for something. You have to believe it's possible.
Right. But is belief something we can choose?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we just decide to believe something, especially if our past experiences haven't really supported that belief?
That's a great question. The nature of belief is complex, you know. Some people think we can just choose our beliefs while others believe they're formed through our experiences. Kind of a nature versus nurture debate.
Right. So are our beliefs hardwired, or can we consciously rewrite them? It's a fascinating question.
It is. What's clear, though, is that our beliefs, they really do have a huge impact on our lives. They filter how we see the world, they influence the choices we make, and they ultimately shape our reality. If we believe we can achieve something, we're more likely to actually take the actions to make it happen.
That makes sense. So if we have beliefs that are holding us back, how do we break free from those limitations? Can we really just decide to believe something different, even if it feels counterintuitive?
It's definitely possible, but it takes work. It's about becoming aware of those limiting beliefs, questioning their validity, and actively cultivating new beliefs that support our goals. You know, kind of like weeding a garden.
Right. Weeding out the negative thoughts and planting seeds of positive ones. So it's a process. It's not just going to happen overnight.
Exactly. It's a journey.
And it might not always be easy, but it sounds like it's worth the effort.
Absolutely. It's about taking control of our minds and our lives, you know, really stepping into our power.
I like that. Stepping into our power. All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground here, but we're just getting started. Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll explore Dispenza's perspective on obstacles, action, and the importance of letting go.
It's going to be good. Don't miss it. It's a process, for sure. But ultimately, we have more power over our beliefs than we might think.
So we're like gardeners of our own minds,
Yeah,
you know, tending to the soil and planting seeds.
I like that. That's a great analogy. And speaking of things that grow, another interesting part of this Dispenza philosophy is his take on obstacles.
Yeah. He doesn't see challenges the way most people do, does he? He sees them as a good thing, actually.
Exactly. He says obstacles aren't there to discourage us, but to redirect us. You know, refine our approach, test our commitment. Like, they make us stronger.
So it's kind of like that saying, the obstacle is the way. Like, instead of avoiding challenges, we should embrace them, because that's how we grow.
Exactly. Obstacles are opportunities. And embracing those opportunities builds resilience, which is, essential for achieving any goal you set for yourself.
It's about that inner strength, that stick-to-itiveness that keeps you going even when things get tough.
Yeah, like bouncing back from setbacks, maybe even stronger than you were before.
In Dispenza, he uses this great analogy of climbing a mountain, right? You're going to stumble along the way. That's just part of it.
And those stumbles, they're not failures, they're learning experiences. Each one gets you closer to the top of the mountain.
Right. And it's a metaphor for life in general, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are always going to be those challenges, but how we react to those challenges is what makes all the difference.
I think that's true for pretty much everyone.
So how do we cultivate that resilience? Like, how do we go from seeing obstacles as these big, scary roadblocks to seeing them as stepping stones?
Well, a big part of it is changing how we talk to ourselves, that self-talk. Instead of beating ourselves up when we hit a challenge, we can try asking, okay, what can I learn from this?
Turn those why me moments into, okay, what now moments.
Exactly. It's a more positive, proactive way of looking at things. And that leads us to another part of Dispenza's system, this 3-day belief system, the role of action.
Because he's not just saying sit around and think positive thoughts and everything will magically fall into place.
Oh, absolutely not. He's all about taking action. But, and this is important, he says it has to be inspired action. Action that's aligned with your vision, not action that comes from a place of fear.
So it's not about forcing things to happen or acting out of desperation.
No. He says we should be guided by our intuition, really listen to our inner voice and take actions that feel right, that feel good, actions that are aligned with our purpose.
That makes me think of flow states, those times when you're so absorbed in what you're doing, that time just kind of disappears. It feels effortless.
Yes, exactly. Flow states happen when our skills and the challenge in front of us are perfectly matched and we're just completely present in the moment.
And it sounds like Dispenza is saying we should try to live our lives in a flow state, like make choices that align with our passions and purpose.
I think that's a great way to put it. When we're in flow, we're not only more productive, but we also feel more fulfilled. We're happier.
So how do we know if what we're doing is aligned or misaligned? Like, is there a way to tell?
It's a feeling, Pay attention to how you feel when you're taking action. Does it feel expansive, energizing, or does it feel heavy and draining?
So if it feels like you're swimming upstream, maybe it's a sign that you're forcing something that isn't meant to be.
Yeah, it could be. Or it could be that you just need to adjust your approach, tweak things a bit. It's about fine-tuning and trusting your gut, that inner wisdom.
Okay, I like that, trusting your gut. Now, all this visualization, emotion, action, sounds pretty empowering, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering about the potential downsides. What are some challenges people might run into when they try to apply this 3-day belief system?
That's a good point. There are definitely some things to be mindful of. One pitfall I see a lot is this trap of toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity.
Yeah, it's like you get so focused on being positive that you kind of deny or suppress any negative emotions you might be feeling.
So it's like putting on this happy face all the time, even when you're actually stressed or sad.
Yeah, and that's not healthy. You've got to acknowledge the full range of human emotion. It's all part of being human.
So it's not about pretending everything's perfect. It's more about, like we were talking about before, choosing where you focus your energy.
Exactly. Recognizing that you have a choice in how you respond to things.
Okay, that makes sense. So we need to watch out for the toxic positivity trap. What else? What other challenges are there?
Well, another challenge is that you can get so fixated on manifesting one specific outcome that you kind of miss the bigger picture.
Oh, yeah. It's like getting so focused on reaching a certain destination that you forget to enjoy the journey.
Exactly. Sometimes those detours and unexpected turns lead to amazing discoveries.
So maybe it's about not getting too attached to a specific outcome, but more about trusting the process, trusting that things are unfolding as they should.
Yeah, exactly. Trusting that the universe has a plan, even if we can't see it right now.
Okay, so toxic positivity, getting too attached to outcomes. Anything else we should be aware of?
I think overthinking is a big one. People get so caught up in the how of it all, trying to control every little detail, and it paralyzes them. They end up not taking any action at all because they're so worried about doing it perfectly.
So how do you strike that balance between, thinking things through and planning and just taking that leap of faith, that inspired action we were talking about?
I think it's about trusting your intuition and surrendering a bit of control.
Dispenza talks about that too, right? The power of letting go.
Yes. He says we don't need to micromanage everything. We just need to set our intention, take aligned action, and then trust that the universe will handle the details.
Yeah, but that could be tough, can it? Letting go.
Yeah.
Especially in a culture that's all about, being in control and getting things done.
It is a challenge, but it's such a powerful practice. It's about facing those fears, those insecurities, and trusting that everything will work out, taking a leap of faith.
And when you take that leap, when you surrender that control, you open yourself up to possibilities that you might never have imagined.
Exactly. You're shifting from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance. You're opening yourself up to receive.
So letting go, not easy, but potentially life-changing.
It can be. It's like learning to dance with the universe, trusting the flow.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we let go? Because like you said, it's easier said than done.
It is, and there's no one right way to do it. But I think a good place to start is with mindfulness practices, meditation, spending time in nature, things that help you quiet your mind and connect with your inner wisdom.
So it's about getting out of your head and more into your heart.
Exactly. Because when you're grounded, when you're centered, it's easier to let go of that need to control everything.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What else can we do?
Another great practice is gratitude. Focusing on what you're grateful for is such a powerful antidote to fear and scarcity. It opens your heart to receive more abundance.
So it's like sending a signal to the universe that you're ready for good things to come your way.
Yeah. And speaking of good things, before we wrap this up, I want to emphasize one really important point about this 3-day belief system. This is just one perspective on personal growth, one framework.
Right. It's not the only way.
Exactly. There are so many different paths to self-discovery and fulfillment. What works for one person might not work for another.
It's like a buffet. You take what you like, you leave what you don't.
Exactly. Find what resonates with you, what feels authentic. And remember, this personal growth thing, it's a journey, not a destination.
It's about constantly evolving and growing and becoming more of who you're meant to be. And that's different for everybody.
It is. Everyone's journey is unique.
So if someone's listening to this and they're intrigued by this 3-day belief system, what are some things they should keep in mind if they want to try it?
I'd say the most important thing is to approach it with a sense of curiosity. Experiment with it. Play with it. But don't go into it with this rigid expectation of, I have to manifest X, Y, and Z in 3 days or I've failed.
Right. Because if you go into it with that mindset, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
For sure. It's not about the time frame. It's about the principles.
So it's more about embracing the journey, the process of learning and growing, rather than being attached to that specific outcome.
Exactly. And even if they don't manifest their wildest dreams in 72 hours, they might still discover some really valuable insights and tools that they can apply to their lives moving forward.
So it's a win-win either way.
It is. And that's what's so great about personal development. It's a journey that keeps on giving.
So maybe the real magic of this 3-day belief system isn't about the time frame, but about the principles themselves, like the power of belief, the importance of taking action, being willing to let go of control.
Absolutely. Those are concepts that can benefit anybody, whether you're trying to manifest something specific or just live a more fulfilling life in general.
It's about taking ownership of your life, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs.
Exactly. Recognizing that you're not just a passive bystander. You have the power to create change.
I love that.
And the more we embrace that power, the more fulfilling our lives become.
Well said. So it's less about that specific 72-hour period and more about just kind of kickstarting a shift in how you see things and how you approach life.
I think that's a great way to look at it. It's like planting a seed.
Right.
You plant the seed, you nurture it, and eventually something beautiful grows, even if it takes longer than 3 days.
And even if it doesn't turn out exactly how you pictured it in your head.
Right. That's the thing about growth. It has a mind of its own.
But you're still creating something new, something amazing.
Exactly. And that's what's so cool about this whole concept of manifestation. Dispenza talks about how our own transformation, it doesn't just stop with us. It can actually inspire others.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part. Like, our energy ripples outward and kind of raises the collective consciousness.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. If one person shifts their mindset, that energy, it creates this ripple effect.
Yeah, it's like paying it forward, but, with good vibes instead of money.
I like that. Paying it forward with good vibes. So, okay, let's play a game for a second. Let's say this 3-day belief system really works. You could manifest anything you wanted in 72 hours. What would you manifest?
That's a tough one. I think for me, it would be a deeper sense of connection, like more empathy and understanding between people.
That's a beautiful goal.
Yeah.
Like if everyone was coming from a place of compassion, imagine what we could accomplish.
Right. We could solve so many problems, if we could just see each other, really see each other.
Yeah. So maybe it's not as far-fetched as it sounds. I mean, if this whole three-day belief system thing teaches us anything, it's that our beliefs are powerful. They really do shape our reality.
Absolutely. Our beliefs create our world. And if enough people start believing in a more compassionate, connected world, well, who knows what could happen?
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the three-day belief system, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that we all have the power to create the life we want. Whether or not we follow this specific system, it's about taking responsibility.
Taking ownership of our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs. Recognizing that we're not just along for the ride, we're driving the bus.
Exactly. We have the power to choose our direction, to create a life that's meaningful and fulfilling. And, it might take some work. It might take some time.
Yeah, it's an ongoing journey.
It is, but it's
Yeah,
worth it.
absolutely. So to everyone listening out there, maybe give this three-day belief system a try, see what happens.
Yeah.
But even if you don't, just remember this. You are powerful. You're capable of amazing things. You have the ability to create a life that truly lights you up.
So go out there and do it. Keep exploring, keep growing, keep believing in yourself, and keep listening to the show.
Yes. We'll be back with more deep dives soon. Until then, keep those good vibes flowing.